Preetha, it's such a pleasure to welcome you back.
Thank you.
We were just discussing, I think I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking to you about 2 years back, same place, same conference. So nice to have you back again. You obviously run a huge hospital chain. What I wanted to ask you is, when I look back like 10, 12 years ago, people wanted to go to India purely for economic reasons. But now I think the care has evolved to a different level. So it's good to learn from you what kind of care is now being given to the patients who come to your hospitals compared to, I can take you to Indonesia, to Singapore, and then to US.
Well, I think the level of care in India is second to none. We have centers of excellence who are doing phenomenal work with the same results, if not better, than some of the centers in the US or in Thailand or Singapore. And it's simply been like that because we invest into the best technology, no compromise on that. The level of the clinical staff has been phenomenal. They deal with huge numbers. And everyone knows that when you deal with a large number, large volumes, you just become better at what you do. And they specialize, so you have super specialists now in India really doing only that and nothing else. So they've become very good at what they do. One of the biggest areas which we as a group are investing into, and India is looking at from different multiple players, is in the field of cancer care. I think cancer care is one of the largest diseases or problems in India, and both the government, private sector are trying to see what more we can do in the area of cancer care. So we have recently invested about 200 million into a proton center, which is the first one in that part of the world. Not India, but it's going to be the first one in Southeast Asia, which will be ready by the end of this year. And so combined with a good genomics interface, I think the level of cancer care will be like one of the best in the world. And so India as a country is now becoming known for high-end, cutting-edge healthcare, backed with some of the best technologies globally, great clinical staff. So you'll see people from all over the world coming.
So it makes very much, like I said at the beginning, an economic sense to come to India, but the only hesitation was the quality of care. But you just, narrated, how it has improved over the years. In terms of innovation happening in your area, is that where we are lagging behind as a country?
So I don't think we should say that India is lagging behind in innovation. With the new Modi Care policy, where half the Indian population will have some kind of insurance or access to care, there's pressure to innovate to bring low-cost models of care. And I think that would be one of the greatest benefits to mankind at large, because if we get it right in India, it can be applied anywhere in the world. And so low-cost interventions with the same, if not better outcomes, is where research and innovation and deployment of capital is going. And just like the pharma industry is one of the largest in the world, and the software industry was one of the biggest and still continues to be, I think the medical support industry, the medical infrastructure in India will now come to a level where there'll be some phenomenal interventions happening.
When I get the opportunity and the privilege to interview familial businesses and people who represent familial businesses, I see two very distinct challenges with them, and this is across the world. One is they somehow don't keep up with the technology curve. Second is transition to the next generation is a pain point. And most of their can come here and study here or in Europe, and they realize that if we do not adapt really fast, we'll become dinosaurs. In your case, it has been different. You've always been on the cutting edge. So how do you see yourself different and keeping up with the innovation, and also at the same time empowering your workforce?
I think the latter is very important, empowering the workforce. And keeping up with the latest and the best, again, is about empowerment. The promoters, or my father who started it, is always interacting with the clinicians, because they know what is the latest, they know what is the best, and they will advise us on some of the best investments we've ever made into technology. And so as a principle, it comes from the advice from the actual users. And I think that's kind of stood us in good stead. We have the largest robotic program in the country. Robotic surgery, we just completed 2,000. We're investing in a proton center for oncology. Our cardiac volumes are the highest in the country now. So I think a lot of it goes on, just interactive, collaborative work with the actual user who's the clinician, and no compromise on outcomes. Clinical pathways, clinical outcomes, I think absolutely no compromise.
Your dad and then transition to you and your siblings.
Yeah.
What happens to the next generation? Does it have to translate to them, or?
Not really, because you have to chase your own dreams. And we, as 4 daughters, we just ended up working for my dad, because my father was just a doctor who came back to India to serve his country, and none of us went to business school. But we just ended up working with him because we saw his passion, it was contagious. But I think our children are well educated and they see the global landscape. So even if they want to work in healthcare, there's more to healthcare than just running hospitals. The healthcare ecosystem itself is so big, huge and large, and they have to have some kind of entrepreneurial skill. It is not necessary for the next generation just to be managers. They have to learn to be entrepreneurs. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Not necessarily all of them, the 10 of them, by the way. So not necessarily in the healthcare space, but I think some of them will be in the healthcare space. And then there's a certain level of professionalism. We have professionals, in running the hospitals for us. So I think we should leave it to them and look at strategy, look at growth, and see what more we can do, and service. So I think that's what I'd see the next generation doing.
Right. But again, thank you. It's a tremendous opportunity, and appreciate you coming and sharing.
Thank you for the invitation also.